What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I'm going to be doing an open tag video that Lefty EDC did on his channel, and it's going to be about Sentimental knives. Let's get into it. So my list is probably going to be a little bit different than his, and there's going to be some similarities. It's just hard to avoid. That's just the way that it goes. When it comes to making this content, there's going to be some things that we have and share in common, and there's going to be other things that are going to be completely opposite for totally opposite reasons. Having said all that, let's go ahead and jump into the knives. I am going to start out with the Buck 110. I'm really sentimental about this knife because I feel like it shows for around $30 if you're a die-hard, gotta be made in the USA guy, that you can still get a very good cutting tool for whatever it is that your needs are. If you're going fishing and you need to cut line, this is going to work for you. If you're hunting, this is going to work for you. If you're out in the field and you just need to get into some packages or cut some ropes, this is going to work for you, and it's going to do a really good job. It's going to be really comfortable ergonomically. You're going to get a nice hollow ground blade. You're getting 420 or 440. I can't remember which one it is, and I apologize. But you're getting a steel that they heat treat and do really well. It actually has a pretty decent stone wash on it. I mean, it's not the best I've ever seen. It's not going to blow anything away when you're looking at boutique knives or high-end knives, but it's going to do the job really well. And it's going to have a really strong lockback system that's going to keep the knife securely opened and closed. Well, open more so than closed, but it does have a decent amount of resistance, so you're not going to have to worry about it accidentally opening. And it does have a reversible pocket clip, not the prettiest, but it does have their anvil on there, which is part of their design. And I think it also might have it. Nope, doesn't have it on the Buck, but just a great knife. I keep this one around just as a reminder that you can get affordable made in the USA product, and you can support USA, especially if that is extremely important to you. That's why I keep this one around. It was a size comparison knife for a little while in my budget realm, but I know a lot of folks are into, you know, a lot of the other budget brands that are Chinese made and things of that nature. Sorry, it felt like my thumb studs were coming loose. I'm just checking them real quick. No, they're fine. That would have been funny, right? As I'm talking about a good quality. And when I say quality, I mean built well. I don't mean that it's going to be precise or it's going to have perfect build quality throughout. I mean, it's going to be built solid and well to perform, and it has a good warranty to back it up. So if something does fail, because it is a production knife, they're going to back it up. So I do keep this for that reason. I like it. It's definitely a good beater. If I wanted to cut a bunch of junk that I didn't really want to mess up my nice stuff with, I would actually grab this because it would be really comfortable to use for a long time. But that's a long time on a knife that I doubt that anyone is highly interested in. So I'm going to start jumping into a couple of my sentimental knives. First, the Kubi Royal. So this started life as a jade knife, and I didn't really like it, so I purchased some black Rit dye, and it came out charcoal, which I actually think looks really good. The reason that this is sentimental to me is because it was actually a Christmas gift for my stepdaughter. It was on one of my, I think it was on my Amazon wish list, because I just throw some stuff on there because I never really know what to tell my children. So as I'm just kind of browsing and shopping, that's just a really nice way for me to be able to throw something fairly affordable out there for the family to check out. I don't ever expect anyone to support my hobby and habit, especially when it's on the higher end stuff. But I really like this because it's a great knife. At the time, it was a really good value. There's a lot more competition in that market right now, but really, really good value. I think my pivot might be too tight. I might need to loosen the pivot on this. It has been sitting for a little while. I don't carry it all the time, but I do keep it and appreciate it, and I will break it out of the knife roll on occasion to open things and do things with it because I do like it. But I also don't mind the fact that I don't use it a ton because it is a sentimental knife, meaning that I will always keep it because of the who behind the purchase. But beautiful design. QB did a great job with the build quality on this. The D2 does have, I think, a satin. Is this a blasted or a satin finish? I'm not quite sure. I don't have any issues with rust in my climate, fortunately, so it's been fine for me the whole time. I did not really like the clip that came with it, so I actually purchased one of the old Civivi clips because I like this because when it's in your hand, the fold is all the way out towards the top of the pinky for me, so it doesn't really get in the way, and the the tip of the clip folds down and really gets out of the way, and you have good access to the lock bar. We're going to keep it going with the family purchase knives. So the next one up is going to be my Benchmade Bugout with the Flytanium scales. Wife helped purchase this knife for me, and it's base form. This is the Blade HQ exclusive 20CV. I grabbed it when it was on sale. I believe at the time a few years ago it was like 140 bucks or something, really cheap. It was ridiculous how cheap it was. And then I didn't really like the Grail scales that came on there, the plastic scales. They were really cheap and flimsy, very flexy. And when I was cutting, sometimes it felt like you could feel the Grail shifting around in your hand while you were using it. So on a Black Friday deal, Flytanium had these for like half off almost, or something ridiculously cheap. So I picked them up and I loved the way that it looked, but it was all washed out except for the green accents. So this is also sentimental to me because it's the first time I tried to anodize. And back then I was using 9-volt batteries. I didn't have the power supply, and I was just learning how to do it as I went. Like, I was watching videos. I tested it on some, I don't know what, was it a pry bar? I can't remember what I had that was titanium, but I just tested it. Kind of like the colorway. I like the way that the very bright blue or light blue, it's almost like a sky blue, accented the green, like, because it's such a vibrant green on there. I just love the way that that came out. And then my wife saw it. She loved the color of it. So it's remained this color ever since. And this is the same. This has been anodized this color for probably every bit of a year, I want to say. For sure. The action on here, I have it dialed to be very smooth. You do have to put a little ass on it to close it. But even if you hold it and just I let go of the lock bar too soon, and let it fall on its own, you don't have to throw it hard, but I just do it quick so that when I let go, it has enough momentum to finish closing. And then I noticed with the titanium scales, there is, I mean, it is just the ever so slight. I can't even get it to show up on camera. And actually, I don't know if I'm not feeling it. Is it because I'm not? Yeah, when I go out to the tip, I feel just like a click almost, but it's barely there. So I feel like I have this dialed perfectly. There's no up and down, and the side to side, like I said, is very minimal, considering that you have, you know, solid enough action to deploy it or close it with momentum with the lock bar. And you can open it. You can open it with the lock bar really, well, easily. I wouldn't say real easy. Real easy would probably be these bearing in the pivot crossbar locking knives that are coming out of China right now. Those are phenomenal for sure for the action. But I love this because it's really slim, minimal carry, super comfortable because it has such neutral ergonomics. I am able to get all 4 fingers on here comfortably. I love the way that these Flytanium Lotus scales feel with this particular knife. And I know my hands, this is a regular bug out. It is not a mini. I know I make it look small, but I just love this knife. It's great for summer carry, lightweight when I want to go minimalist. Just a great, great knife. All right, we're going to keep it going, and we're going to round it out with what I believe, yeah, this is the last family purchase knife. So this is another knife from my wife. This knife is like one of my favorites. The knives that we've been through, I like, and they're, you know, they're good, and I enjoy having them in the collection, but this one excites me. I really love this. It's made in Taiwan. Quiet Carry did a beautiful job. The Taichung, Taiwan plant, I believe it is, Beautiful finish on this clip point blade. Lots of belly for cutting. It goes through packages like nothing. It is super, super thin and slicey. Very thin blade stock. Great thumb studs on here. Wonderful action. I know it's really hard for me to get it to show up on camera, and I am sitting down today because I knew that we might be here for a minute, but there's a little bit of milling here. There is none here, but it's chamfered in such a way that it's just super easy to access it. And then it is so smooth on the close with no play at all, up and down, side to side or anything. You got a nice lock bar insert that locks up on this knife at about 40%, I want to say. And then you do have good access here. This is a fantastic opening hole, very easy to get in here, super smooth. Detent on here, really nice as well. And I personally love the black and the silver, very yin and yang like. My wife likes the knife. I think the blue one's her favorite, but I think that's color, not necessarily the knife, right? I think that's why she likes it a little bit more, but she does like this one. But of course, this is one that I picked out that she, you know, helped me get. I do have skiffs in the pivot, and man, they are smooth. There's zero feedback coming through on the handles, and it is just steady open and close. Great pocket clip, feels comfortable on hand to use. Good jimping on the back. I would say not the best jimping that I've ever felt, but it's really good. And I can even, if I want to, go down into the finger choil, and I'm still able to get a 3.5 finger grip being back. So if I had to chop on something, I would probably do that. But honestly, my favorite position is just choked up on this one. Man, this is just an outstanding knife. And at the time of the filming of this, the all blacked out version still available. I can't believe this knife has not sold out. All right, so now we're just going to move through some knives. I know it is sentimental, but I do have justification why I have these knives in my inventory. So first, the only Italian knife in my inventory currently, and I love it because it was a vendor Sprint exclusive. Far as I know, they're not bringing it back in stock. That is going to be the Ace Grand by Giant Mouths. This is a River's Edge cutlery exclusive done in 4E steel. Beautiful black washed blade. Keyhole opening. It does have the jimping out on the tip, which I love for me when I want to do the detailed work. I have this jimping that works really good, keeps you from slipping. It's very, very good. Came with an outstanding factory edge. The lock bar is well done because of how it was intended to be used, meaning that it is intended to be closed like this. I think that in Europe probably, and anybody that watches from Europe can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like a lot of Italian knives are meant to be closed in that nature. Like they move it over and then, and it does have a ramp. You do have to get it a little bit lower, which is a little annoying. And then you shake it down. But the detent on here is nice. Very snappy, has great sounds. And the ergos on here are fantastic. Now you'll notice here, I did knock it down so that I can come in from the side to close it, because I found knocking it down here and then hitting it from the lower part of the lock bar lets it drop to my thumb, and then I am past the ramp enough to where I can shake it the rest of the way home. But I really like this. I even don't mind, I'm not normally a wire pocket clip guy, but I really even don't mind this one here. It's a little bit shorter and it's pretty rigid, so it doesn't tend to move around a lot when you're holding the knife. So I just really like this. I also love the smooth burlap micarta on here. You barely can feel some fibers on there, but you know, it's a little bit more slick than regular micarta, but it's still tacky. So when you're holding it, it does feel like it's kind of sticking to you. So I like that a lot. And I just really like the aesthetics of this. This is my favorite Giant Mouse knife. And I love it because even though it is the larger size, my hand fits on the whole thing, really comfortable, and it is chamfered. So you have you have good contouring so that it feels comfortable on hand. And I just really like this. And again, it's the only Italian knife in my collection, which is why it's sentimental to me. And I love the 4E, 4V, whatever you want to call it, from Bowler. Seems to be performing really well. I know it didn't test well by Transparent Knives, but I think it was within spec, and it's holding an edge pretty good. I'm happy with it. I'm not out here like shredding 10 boxes a day or anything like that, but for EDC, I have not touched that edge up. That edge is held, and I'm really happy with it. All right, so we're gonna go into a little bit of a classification that's a little bit different, and I'm going to run through these a little bit quickly because there's a bunch of them, but they all have the same theme, and I love these knives. So we're going to start with the only one that is completely stock. That is going to be the EMP EDC Relative. It is a small manufacturer, designer, whatever you want to call it. No, he's not a manufacturer. He's a small designer. He designs knives and he outsources them to different vendors. He uses QSP and Best Tech as of the filming of this video. But this is my favorite knife from EMP EDC. One of my favorite knives in the collection. I love the way the handle looks with the clip point. I think it's a really beautiful finish on the compound. You got the belt that you can see here, and then it's been stone washed or satin finish, whatever it is, in the fuller. And you have that opening hole, and I love a good opening hole. The keyhole that you just saw on the Giant Mouse is awesome, and this one here is done really well. And I think the lines are just super clean. I love the way, for whatever reason, with the milling lines on the monochromatic colorway, just beautiful, great pocket clip, and super comfortable to use. You know, got a good weight on it. I don't remember off the top of my head what it weighs, but it has a nice weight to it, so it carries really well. Yeah, 4.3, it doesn't even feel like it's close to a 4-ounce knife. It feels lighter than that, but I just really like this one. The access to it, the fidget factor with it, the looks, the performance, because it's got a really thin hollow grind on it. I love this. This is one, and we're in the boutique knives. That one's sentimental to me because it could very well be one of my favorite small brand knives outside of the Quiet Carry 9. I would say the Quiet Carry 9 out of the small brands, definitely my favorite, and I would say the Relative is second. This one here is because it is a small brand, Demco. These are manufactured in Taiwan, but he also manufactures the full size. These are sentimental to me because they're my builds, right? I have skiffs in the pivot, which is not all that unique. BGM regrinds on these. I have the original goat scales that I anodized myself with their smooth back spacer, the Lynch Northwest clip on it that I really, really like, and everything is the same on this S35EN variant with the exception of the scales. These are scales that were made by Carbonized on Instagram. He doesn't have a store, doesn't have a website. You just have to follow him on Instagram. And he is currently the only one that I know that makes them with the large pivot that you can get the replacement on. But everything else is kind of the same. BGM, Sep on the shark foot, skiffs, Lynch Northwest clip that I anodized myself. So these are sentimental to me. I really love these knives. I carry them probably more than any other knives in my collection for EDC. They're a great size, great fidget factor. I love using them. People complain about the detent on these, but to be honest, the reason that is because they're trying to flick it like it has a detent ball. This does not have a detent ball. You want to push your finger into the knife and then flick it. If you do that, it is extremely satisfying to reverse flick, and then you want to push down into the thumb stud and flip up with it. You create the tension by pushing into the blade, and you don't have to do it exaggerated or hard. You just a little bit of pressure, and it's going to be extremely satisfying to fidget with. So I get frustrated when I hear people talk about, oh, the detent, it feels mushy. Yeah, because it doesn't have a detent ball. It's not a detent. It's a lock system. The lock keeps the blade closed, and the lock keeps the blade open. Put pressure on it towards the knife and flick it. Tell me that doesn't feel satisfying when you do that with your Demco if you got one. I'm telling you, if you don't, it's you. It's not the knife. The next one is going to be my Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. Another designer like EMP EDC. but he also makes his own knives, and they're customs. They're expensive, small batch. It takes a long time to make them, but I really just love the design. This is the only one in the collection from him that I just truly love and grab a ton. I also like this because it is very office friendly. It has a very clean line to it, very good looking knife, very toned down with beautiful finishes. I really like this one. I do have skiffs. It has a detent nub on it, and I just really like to carry this one for office carry a ton. I carry the Demcos the most for sure because they get weekday and weekend carry. This one here I reserve for like going out somewhere nice, going into the office if I need to open something. I have this in an organizer down in the pocket, and it's so clean. Look at the lines on that open. It is so clean. Now, look at the lines on it closed. I know it's at an angle. We'll flip it over. Just ignore the pocket clip because that's probably my only gripe about the pocket clip. Just doesn't match the knife. And it's not awful. I just feel like it doesn't go with it. But how clean is that closed? Is that not awesome? So this one here, and again, right as of the making of this video, the Sentimental ones from the family will never go anywhere. But these knives I'm showing you, I intend to keep them in my collection. They're not going anywhere. So going with the next one, now that automatics are legal, and now that I've gone through a few OTFs, I have found one that I actually like to EDC, and that is going to be the Hogue CounterStrike. So I have two OTFs in my collection, and they're both made by Hogue. I tried Microtech, I tried Axial Shift, and I just like the slenderness of this knife. I like the lightweight nature of it. I love how easy it is for me and how comfortable it is for me to actuate this. And this style drop point where it comes down on the tip, this is great because if I do have to, trace or draw on something, I can do that relatively easy by pinching out here on the tip and doing it. I'm a little far from the edge, but I still have enough control. But I can also pinch up on this to get into packages and things of that nature. So it functions very much like a lot of the folding knives, having a super thin stock, a beautiful stonewash finish. And I just like the black G10 on top of the aluminum. I almost took my collector series one and swap the scales out, but I really kind of like this one, and because I EDC this one in the collector, I really don't EDC that one as much. That's probably a collection knife, and sometimes I think about selling it because I don't carry it, but I like this one and I carry it a lot. And now that it is legal here where I live in Virginia to carry these, this one will stay in the collection. It's my favorite. Now, could something come along down the road and dethrone it? Yes. But as of right now, the making of this video, that is definitely in my collection to stay. All right, we're down to the last three knives, okay? Number 3, my Shaman. So when I first got into the knife game and, I was in the budget realm of the collection, this was a knife that was a grail for me at nearly $250, I think, to get an exclusive or a sprint. This was out of reach for me back then. And it was my very first Grail knife was a Shaman. Now, to be fair, I did get the S30V VN coated blade version of the Shaman, but it was still a Grail knife for me. So I was really excited to have it, and it remains to this day one of my favorite knives just to grab to use for working, meaning cutting a lot or cutting heavy objects like double wall card bars, things of that nature. Because even though it's one of the more robust Spydercos out there, it's still so freaking slicey. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how wonderful the heat treat on this M4 is. I have not stropped it. I have not sharpened it. I have not done anything with this knife, and I've had this since it dropped with Blade HQ. This is their M4 exclusive, and I don't think it's going to come back, blade steel. Now, M4 is not super corrosive resistant, But where I live, I don't run into that issue at all. And I dry my knife off when I'm done. If I'm cutting anything that has any moisture, or if I've had it around any moisture, I just dry it off. It's super easy, not hard to do, right? I also built this a little bit. So these are the Rips Garage Tech Gear scales. They have a little bit of the milling pattern. So I'm already $150 on top of a $230 knife. I also went out and bought on Etsy blacked out hardware. I bought a black Cerakote powder coat. I can't remember which one it is. MXG deep carry pocket clip. So let's call that, I don't know, 50. We'll call it 50. So we'll call the knife 250, 100, so $300, right? No, $300, $400 with the scales. So 250 plus 150, $400, 450 with the hardware. The OCD for EDC, CME, the OCD, Lord have mercy. The CME from OCD for EDC, which is the compression made easy. That's another $40. And then the titanium backspacer, I think that was another 60 or so. That's from Meton Boss. So this is not a low end Shaman. This is like, I don't know. I'm just going to say it's a $500 Shaman. Why would I do that? Because I love the knife. I mean, I just love it. Super fidgety. The Spyderco's opening hole is probably the best opening hole that you can get. I love the size of it. You can use it with a glove because I've had to cut some rope while I have gloves on, and it works really well. I'm very familiar with the knives and tuning them. I know I'm sitting here closing it, but it does have a slower action than a lot of my other knives because it is on phosphor bronze. So it takes a second for me to remember that I need to, you know, put a little bit behind it to close it. But that doesn't really bother me because I also love the next knife that's in my collection. And these are going to stay out here because they're my Grails. But that's going to be the Chris Reeve knives Omen's on. I started with the Nkosi, which is a fantastic knife. I like that knife, but it was just a little slender in the fingers for me because I had the plain Jane version. I didn't have the ones with the inlays. So that's why I ended up trying to get an Omen's on. They looked like they were a little bit thicker and a little bit more chunky. And when I got it in hand, I realized that they were. I did grab a Sabenza afterwards, but I just realized because of the Omen's on that I wasn't going to carry the Sabenza. So for me personally, it's the Chris Reeve knife Omen's on. This quickly became a Grail knife after I got my first Grail knife, but I didn't get that as quickly. And I didn't get this one quickly at all. So I got this probably after being in the knife game, I don't know, 8 months. And then it was almost another year before I picked up the Omen's on. It's one thing, I don't know why mentally it's like that for me. So $500, right? When I bought this, it was $500 to buy the knife. And I did buy from Chris Reeves, and it was only like $30, the titanium with the lanyard. But then because I wanted to keep the look, the Chris Reeve look on there by keeping the lanyard on there, but I'm not a lanyard guy unless it's a small knife and I'm putting it on there to kind of pull it out of a pouch or out of the fifth pocket. They get in my way and I just don't like them. They irritate me when I'm using the knife to cut things. So I just kept the lanyard pin. I don't know if the factory one was titanium and maybe I could have anodized it. And then a few months later, I decided to I wanted a little pop of color. And sometimes I debate because Lynch Northwest has a beautiful matchy clip that is fold over deep carry, because this is not deep carry. You have about that much knife sticking out when you're carrying the knife, which is a decent amount. I like my pocket knives to ride deep in the pocket. I keep them incognito or inconspicuous. But the S45, sorry, the S45 on here is really well done. The only reason that I would get rid of this is if the Magna Cut Omen's on came available and I could grab it, and it would just be a buy and sell, right? I would buy that one and sell this one. But I think I would probably keep the Tonto. I just like the way that looks. and it functions really well for this knife. It's a really nice hollow grind. It has a fantastic factory edge. Now, I have used this so much that I actually had to strop it, which surprised me, but not really, because I know I do pick it up a lot, and I have no hesitations about using this one at all. It has some marks on it. I thought about sending it off to get it glass blasted by Chris Reeves, because I do like that finish. So I don't know, but that would be the only way that this would go out of the collection, is to get the Magna Cut, because I really like Magna Cut. I think it's an even better steel than the S45VN. S45 is very, very tough, but it doesn't hold an edge like S30V. The Magna Cut's going to hold the better edge, but we're really running deep into this, and I'm hoping that through some editing, I can get through this a little bit quicker. But we're all the way up to the last knife. So if you can't tell, these are Grails, and I can say honestly, because I've kept these so long and I've never once thought about selling them, that they're not going to leave the collection. So the last one needs no introduction. This is a Grail I picked up recently, and I sold my Demco AD20S with the skiffs, the OG scales, and a Lynch clip for this knife. It was an even, by the time I sold it and picked this one up, it was even Steven. But these normally, because I got mine on the secondhand market and it was like new in box, and I have no reason looking at the knife to doubt that. It looks like a nice factory edge that's never been sharpened. It has no scratches or nicks on it. It still even had the, it had oil on the blade. Jesus, that action. It even had, gosh, oil on the blade from the pivot, from where it looks like it hadn't been used a lot. Unfortunately for this knife, that's not going to be the case in this house. If I feel like I am going to be reluctant to carry and use it, I'm probably just not going to buy it. I am not that dude. I don't like to buy shit that's just going to be on display, unless it's like comic books, baseball cards, signed autographed baseballs, like collectible things. Not to say that knives are not collectible, but they're tools to me. I love this hobby, and I love that there's just stuff that exists like this, but I want to use and enjoy it. I feel like I'm one of those people, yes, that the manufacturer built this because they wanted it to be used and appreciated, right? Like, that's who I am. But these are Grails. They're not going nowhere. Now, I will say, because of those boutique knives, these are going to get carried less. I love them so much. I want them to last a long time. And I know that these three have phenomenal heat treats. So I know that I'll be able to use them for a long time and not worry about losing the blade to sharpening over age. I don't worry about that with these three. So I know that I can probably get a lifetime of use out of these, and then, you know, I can leave them to my kids. And who knows? I don't know. Maybe they won't make these models, or maybe because if I can get the Magna Cut and keep the M4, maybe, you know, I don't know. Maybe they'll be special one day, or maybe there just won't be enough of them in the world, or I don't know. I don't see these manufacturers going anywhere, so I'm not trying to fool myself, but you know, maybe they'll fetch the kids some money, or maybe they will be heirlooms from their father that they are going to want to keep and cherish, and if they're in good shape, they might just save them. So who knows? But those are my knives. You know, I would say of the ones that are never going to go anywhere, you're looking at them, that I know are never going to go anywhere. These are gifts from the family, and these are my Grail knives, and all the other ones in my collections are just knives that are my favorite, either because I modified them, because they were a first of something or another, or just my favorite design from a boutique knife. I honestly don't think I could sell any of them. Like, these were the knives that I sat down and looked at that I never want to sell. And I have to sell knives. Like, I am a small channel, y'all. I don't make squat off of any of the ads that you watch. If you watch, it does help. I'm not making much off of the links. I just got them though, so I'm hoping that they do allow me to be able to fund knives, because I love to collect and review them and share them with you. I love to hear when you guys share with me, and I love to mod them a little bit tastefully. Anyway, that's my video. Open tag. I am going to tag Satu Dave and Tri-State EDC. I'll probably have to message him and ping him because he's really overwhelmed, but I'm going to try to tag those two. And if you see this video and you want to do this and you have a channel, do it. I just, right now off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone else. So that's where I'm at. And I know that there's a couple other people that I could tag, but they've already done theirs. So open tag if you want to do it. And let me know in the comment down below that you did it. That way other people can see that you picked up the open tag. I plan to do the same thing with Kevin. I don't think anyone tagged me. If they did, I haven't seen it yet, but I am a little behind because of my new job on the video content, because this has been out there for a couple weeks now, or at least a week from Kevin, and I just saw it yesterday. Anyway, I had a lot of fun doing this. It's pretty close to almost a full collection video for me. I don't keep a lot. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, notification bell. Thank you for everyone that already does it. Hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.